exciting and new. Come aboard, we're expecting you. And love, life's sweetest reward. Let it flow, it floats back to you. Soon we'll be making another run. The love boat promises something for everyone. Set a course for adventure, your mind on a new romance. And love won't hurt anymore. It's an open smile on a friendly shore.
Obviously with, is that, no, there's Pete.
There's Pete.
Hello Pete, Pete's here.
All right,
Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens.
hi, John.
How you doing?
Where are we up to now? All right.
Phil didn't know.
Colin.
There you go.
Hello, Colin.
Hello, Calvin. Hello, how are you?
Okay, sit down and relax, Colin. It's all good.
Hello. You all right? Give me any more names, mate.
Yeah.
Everybody okay?
Green button, see what if you.
Johnny, you got snow in the background there, mate?
Oh yeah, we got snowed in, mate. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Which Malcolm did you want? Malcolm?
Well, I think that one of the Malcolms is not available. Scotty.
Nick Howard?
Yeah, Nick Howard. Are you ready for P&O management, Scotty?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, always ready for that.
Okay. Okay.
Long as it's not Angry Eric.
No.
I can watch to see if you've then connected.
Who's in Dave's pocket?
No, he's talking to Phil. He's trying to get Phil on.
All Phil should have to do is
Yeah, Jesus.
pocket. Oh, Ollie's pocket, sorry. Come on tonight.
Come on, Dave. Let's get us off.
I've got Phil on the phone, and he's just trying to join up with Steve's invitation.
Okay, well,
Just has to click the green camera, Dave.
Yeah.
Join chat.
for a second.
Or do you want me to knock off and then you can bring me back later?
No, I want you to stay, John, because you go back to the early '60s with him. So,
That's 1960s, John, by the way.
okay, Kevin. If you drop out, and then we figure out how to get more in. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Catch you later.
Okay. So
right.
when you try again with Derek, as soon as he's gone, Kevin left, so we got 7 now.
All right, let's try ringing Derek again now.
Yeah.
Ring in.
Yeah.
That's promising.
Okay.
It looks like Derek's coming in.
Great. Here we go.
I might put Phil in Ollie's
No,
pocket.
don't, Dave, don't. It doesn't work.
Derek, Phil.
There's Phil. There's Phil. Okay, so we need someone else now.
Is Ollie's pocket like the green room?
What sort of green room was that?
That's what they call it on the television when they've got people waiting to come on. They're in the green room.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was another word you said before that.
Okay, so
Right.
But it's nothing to do with the red light district.
No, it is not.
Right, where are we then?
we,
No, Phil, I'll put the phone away now that
yeah,
you're here. All right.
Yeah, okay. You don't need him on both again.
Okay, we need to get Derek in, so we still need to try one
See
more.
if I can-
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to try one more time, just in case we can get Derek on. Make it up, because it went mad last week, didn't he?
Yeah.
Derek says
Dave, don't do anything. I've
What?
got Derek Warmington on here. Just a minute. Oh, you've done it. All right, you've done it.
ring in. Derek Warmington's ringing.
Rimming.
Ah,
There he is. Hey.
is that Derek's glasses?
That's better.
Yes, it is.
Derek.
Oh, we've got 9 now, John. We've got 9.
Yeah, okay, it's good. Okay.
Okay.
Derek.
We're away. You can actually call Kevin back, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it said there were too many of you, so I was sitting waiting. Yeah.
I know we had technical difficulties, Mr. Warmington, and I'll be the only one to call you Mr. Warmington because I'm not calling you Derek.
Nobody calls me that.
We've got Kevin.
Right.
Hello, Phil. How you doing?
Very well, Derek. Yourself?
Yeah, fine. We haven't seen each other at the reunion this time, have we? We normally meet.
No, it's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's not going to be this year either, is it?
Well,
It's not going to happen this year either.
I don't know. Well, they hope not.
He's marked in the September the 3rd, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
September the 3rd.
look, 250 pensioners in the same room. I can't really see it happening at the moment. Can you?
No. It's been difficult wearing masks while we're having lunch.
Yeah.
Should have all had our
Never mind
vaccination by
drinking.
then.
Yeah.
Mine tomorrow.
No, where's Colonel's? No, Derek.
Yeah.
Cheers to you. Cheers for coming in to the crew bar.
I'm going to drink, but anyway, yes, cheers to you lot.
It's all right. No, it's
Well, we
fine.
all have a drink in the crew bar.
Yeah.
Derek, you have got this, haven't you?
Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Yes, you have. It's all right because we do have to check IDs,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
especially for the first time. You
Oh,
know.
for God's sake.
Do you mind? It's all part of the act.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, there we
What
are.
act? There we go.
Here, is this my laptop?
Here we go. Right, looking good.
The kind of security they used to have in our days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's hiding, Derek, over the
All right. That's my wife.
Looking good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got the blue cover.
Derek, obviously, we're all lucky, and we've been together for many weeks now. Derek,
Derek.
round of lovely. That's great.
That is.
Derek, Phil Butcher's the only one probably that can confirm that was you in that picture.
It was 60 years ago next month. How about that?
660. Wow.
How many?
Wow. Yeah, because Phil and I, although we may not want to admit it, we're the same age. I think you're a few months older, Phil.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's
Yeah,
right.
you're in November.
I'm April. No, I'm November, you're April. Yeah. Yeah, there we are. I still had teenage acne in that photograph. I was 19. Anyway, I'll take a copy and send it to you.
If you would,
Derek, before
Derek,
you
thank
relax into the bar conversation, and there will be, it looks like we might get a chance to get some more coming into the crew bar.
Yeah.
But while it's relatively quiet, we do always ask, and it's of great interest, not just for us, but all those that listen in and watch the recording that Colonel does. All we usually ask is, when did you go to sea? Why did you go to sea? And if you can sort of go through whatever ships you were on and what you did, and then obviously the finale, leaving the ships and going into head office at Beaufort House.
Well, strangely, I lived as far from the sea as you could get in Banbury in Oxfordshire, but I always felt I wanted to go to sea. And even when I took my 11 plus, I said I wanted to go in the Navy. But I knew that being a Johnny Jack wasn't really me. Anyway, when I left school, my father ran a cafe and restaurant, and so I was involved with catering. And I was sitting in the sixth form at school. You used to get 3 periods. And there was the Opportunities for School Leavers 1960. Junior assistant requirement 6 O-levels. Well, I'd got 5 and an A-level by then or something. So I applied, and I was on a wait list for 6 months, went for an interview and got the job, and started in October 1960. And how it worked was you worked in the office for a few months where they taught you about reservations and you looked at how to work out the crew pay. And I joined the Strathmore on the 13th of March 1961 as a junior assistant purser. And that's I was already there as a PRS. and Dougie Bayliss was a bellboy. How about that?
Oh, well done.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that in the days of sail, Derek?
Well, listening down the Red Sea, and that really was an experience, wasn't it, Phil?
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did that because, in fact, I had a boss much later, an ex-purser, and I commented that I'd been down the Red Sea with it. He said, I can beat that. He said, I sailed on a coal burner.
Wow.
In there. Brilliant.
Good answer.
But,
Good evening, all. If question, if the truth be known, in those days you didn't sign on, you weighed in. Is that correct?
That's
yeah,
right.
5 weeks to Sydney, 1 week in Sydney, 5 weeks back, carrying migrants out, unhappy migrants back. That was what it tended to be. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So what ships did you sail on, Derek?
Well, I did a year on the Strathmore, then I went to the Oronsay, and I was only the second P&O man to go to an Orient ship. And I did a year on the Oronsay till the following July. I took leave, and then I went back to Strathmore and did the last 3 cruises before she was sold to the Greeks, and I actually did the delivery run to Piraeus with her. That's in the November '63. Of course, I hadn't been on for very long, so I went home, and about 3 weeks later, they sent me to the Oriana.
Lads from the Prince of Wales Sea Training School who'd signed on as deck boys, and luggage aboard the up-to-date way, and looking forward to enjoying the maiden voyage, some of the 2,000 or more passengers.
And I was in the Oriana for the following 18 months.
I first met you, Derek, was Oriana.
Yeah.
63, I was there.
Yeah. I was the crew AP. I had to work out all pay.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. I was the third baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the Tokyo Olympic Games?
Yes, I went to the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
Did you? Wow, no, I didn't manage that. I went to the athletics and
I was very lucky because if you remember, they did drawers for the whichever event you wanted to. Where you put your name in with options, and my name came out, and my friend's name. We both got it, so we was able to go together.
Well, what actually happened was quite a lot of the Australian passengers had got sort of lots of tickets, and having been for one day, and they'd come up and say, "Oh, I don't think I want to go away tomorrow." I have no tickets. So there were lots of tickets floating around. It was amazing. So I had a day at the athletics. And do you remember Tim Hurst?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a real character. There's a famous story of Tim Hurst. He went the day before I did, and it was the day that Lynn Davis was going to get his gold medal in the long jump.
Yeah.
And Tim, a real character, but the places, the stadium was full of Japanese. As a foreigner, you were in a very small minority, weren't you? Anyway, the story has it, it's supposed to be true. There is Lynn Davis, all lined up for his last jump against the Russians and the Americans. Tim stands on his seat and bellows across the stadium, "Come on, you Welsh bastard, show them what you're made of." Lynn come forward, the gold medal. So he came up. Lynn Davis won a gold medal, which of course I didn't really hear it. It's a nice story.
Was you on board in Honolulu when there was a tidal wave?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got stuck ashore that night, and I think the ship came back about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that was a fantastic experience. And then the following year, I was going to say to Colonel, because we went to Seattle for the first time. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that. No.
Wolf Riddlesdale was the captain. You remember him?
Who?
Riddlesdale.
Yes, yeah.
He had a stomach defect because he war wound. Anyway, they had this big ceremony on the quay, and they declared it Oriana Day, and there was this newspaper article. He was described as the indomitable English sea captain with the only intelligible accent.
Wow, I'm wondering if we can dig up some pictures of Oriana in Seattle. I've never seen that.
Well, it must have been about April or May '65, I guess.
Okay, because at that time, of course, they had the World's Fair in '62 when they built the Space Needle.
Space Needle was there then.
So that was that was when basically Seattle got known for being here, of course, with Boeing as well. Yeah, that's great.
I know that definitely there.
Yeah.
All of you guys in small boats who missed the Alaskan earthquake tidal wave, go out there and hit the Oriana's bow wave.
Yeah.
Well, his foot down and left them all astern.
And if you just give me a second, so Dave, let's get some bellboys in who weren't even born in the era we're talking about.
Absolutely.
We've
Well,
tried.
I am trying from my end. I don't know if Steve can do anything. I'm
I've
trying to
tried,
add to the group.
Martin, there's no response.
Martin Gray.
Yeah.
So Derek, rolling on.
Yeah.
Obviously, so
I then went.
years at sea, and then
I went to Chustan where I met my wife. Then in '67 I got up to be senior AP at Oriana, and I did 2 voyages, and then came ashore in October '67 to the office. That was basically it. Yeah.
and what was there an opportunity that suddenly arose ashore? Or?
Well, I was determined to leave. I had enough. My wife said she wouldn't marry me if I stayed at sea, so that was a bit of an incentive. And they offered me a job, and I worked in reservations for a while.
Yeah.
And I didn't get into personnel until '74. So there was a gap there. I was never very comfortable there. And I stayed. I never intended to stay. It's just that these things happen. And anyway, I did 42 years in the end.
42 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's lucky you were there in 74. That was the year I decided to pop into the office to see if there was a job going.
Yeah.
I was in admin and organising all the charter flights and all this stuff and accounts, and I didn't actually get involved with you guys until '76. So there we go.
If you just give me a second, Derek, I'm going to talk to Dave. Dave, whatever you do not bring up a subject of me going to Beaufort House. Okay?
No, Johnny.
Okay, all right.
You've just done it, John.
You saved us having to do it.
Yeah.
Derek, I need to ask. I was a messenger boy in '68 in Beaufort, '67 in Beaufort House.
Really?
And yes, I was indeed. And I did my time until I was 16 the following year, and then went to the sea training school, and then joined my first ship was the Orchides at the end of summer '68. That was my first ship. But I was a messenger boy in Beaufort House for a year.
Well, I worked in reservations up on that 5th floor when I first came ashore. I was up there.
Wasn't allowed up to the 5th floor. Wasn't allowed to go there.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Out of bounds for us, that was. Out of bounds. Totally out of bounds.
Yeah, right.
Could I just ask you a question?
So that's Phil. Yeah. No, Phil and I were in Strathmore, and we were later in Chustan, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we followed one another around, really, for a while.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Could I ask you a quick question, yeah? Quite a few of us went to the Gravesend training college, yeah?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
And when I finished there, I was told to go home because P&O had selected me and to wait until I was called in for a ship. What criteria did they use to select people at that time? Was it?
I don't remember. I don't know how that works.
Nobody ever told me. You said go home and we'll contact you when we're ready to send you on the ship.
Steve, I think you just had to be a good boy, that was all.
Probably, yeah.
Just had to be a good boy, that's it.
I think I had to go to Fenchurch drink first, and then P&O.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they sent me home and just said wait. I waited, and 2 months later they shipped me out on the crossover.
I remember having my discharge book photo taken in a coaster in Gravesend. There was this tattoo of photographers. When they took your photo, they took you down into the cellar.
I've got a question for Pete Stevens, actually, because...
Yes.
Hello, Pete.
Oh, hi, Dave.
Thanks again. Cheers. We promised not to talk about not Jimmy, Bob Marley.
Don't even get there.
No, Pete. Seriously, last week we did ask a few questions from you about your sea career, but sadly the recording didn't come through because
of me. Yeah.
But Pete, can you just do
Right.
a quick resume again, just of when you went to see, why you did, and then.
Right. What did I go to see? Principally curiosity more than anything. It seemed a good way of earning money and getting around the world. And my dad had been a petty officer in the merchant navy in the Second World War. So the whole family agreed to it, and the advice was don't stay too long, which I'm sure a lot of you have given that advice. But 1972, flew out to Vancouver to join the Arcadia, straight to Alaskan cruising, which was quite strange coming from South London, and then walking in the Red Dog and catching her and all that. Stayed on the Ark till she went to Samoang, till the transfer to the Sea Princess. Did the maiden voyage, didn't we, Dave?
Yes, we did.
On the Sea Princess, which was 79? 79?
Yes.
Then had a run. No, then joined the Canberra for a couple of trips. Then joined the IP. The PP. Then joined the IP. Then joined the Sun. Then back to the Canberra, and then I think I finished on the PP in '88. So the advice from my dad not to stay too long ended up as, 16, 17 years?
Yeah.
Started off as assistant steward, went to winger, section PR bars, and ended up Central Hotel storekeeper.
Wow.
And then, finished off, as I say, in 88
Yeah.
There you go.
with a pension.
That was it. That was. And then you went ashore, and you said you did the pubs, and before you went to the BBC.
Yeah, I did work for Charrington's, as it was in those days, running pubs as manager for them, and then decided, right, complete change, go back to college, learn journalism, and then just spent the last 27 years at the BBC.
As a journalist?
And sorry,
As a
yeah.
journalist, good for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your prediction?
yeah. Well, I went. I ended up. Well, I still am the sports editor at BBC London, but it's coming up to retirement.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Right.
they've offered redundancies, and I think I'm part of the package. 27 years at the BBC.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Go and join Times Radio. I'd say go and join.
Sorry, Derek.
I was going to say, once you've got your pension, you then leave and go and join Times Radio. That's all the journalists seem to be doing at the moment, isn't it? It's full
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, I got to tell Mr. Warmington something. That last week I had to edit out 15 minutes of them talking about merchant navy pension and all that. So I edited it out.
I know. I've got it here, Colonel. We're ready for it this week. It is an important week this week because after last week there was a lot of phone-ins and interest coming in about the merchant navy pensions. It was a simple question which Derek at the time only needed a yes or a no answer.
And it went on for 15 minutes.
Sadly, it went on for about 15 minutes. There was obviously a lot of interest in it. But this week we have been. I know the other week we were actually being, as you said, I've got it up here, sponsored. We get sponsorship from Ollie's Pocket quite often, but this week we're just doing Admiral multi-car insurance. So if anyone's got anything they want to add into it, okay.
I'm retired.
Is there not a merchant navy insurance?
The merchant navy need to do it to insure all of us who went to sea.
It's an insurance fund to make sure we don't go back.
David.
And we're all far too young, John.
I'm just saying, David, don't go back to work, mate. I'm retired as a financial advisor. That's finished. I don't do it no more.
Yeah.
That's me done.
Yeah, well.
If you want advice,
So I've got a question for you, Dave. Does Mr. Warmington know that you ended up as a four-striper?
No, Derek won't know.
Well, if you could tell him, please.
I think I did hear it actually. Yeah. For you. Yeah.
But you decided to ignore it and not believing it. Yeah. Okay.
You know what?
David, I need to tell you that there are four stripers who have passed along the way and already gone that would turn in their graves knowing you were a four
Yes.
I totally agree.
I think at one stripe.
Yeah. It was.
I think you and I first met. You just joined the Sea Princess in Southampton before she went out to Singapore, and you were manning inquiries desk.
Oh crikey! Yes, yeah, I was, and I sailed out on that voyage at reception, taking all the inquiries. And I was given the job when we got over to Singapore, which was great. Although we should have gone directly to Hong Kong, or something, shouldn't it have been? But technically wise, we had to get to Singapore. And when we got to Singapore, I was given the job as he said, "You're the key man." I said, "Oh, great!" So I thought I'll be out in the fresh air. I'll be down on the quay, having a look around, making sure all that. They said, "Oh no! You'll be issuing out all the keys." I thought, flipping heck. No, it was a flipping. You had I don't know how many contractors on board coming and going. Said, "I need a key to get into this," and you have to sign them in and sign them out. But I'll tell you what, one of the laps was in the back office, and she taught me how to do macrame. So I had a nice hanging basket. So it was worth it. Yeah.
Do you remember in Singapore, the ship hadn't really carried many passengers for months, and as soon as they started putting water through the system, all the pipes got bursting. Yeah, I was going to say, Bill Allison, the cruise director's famous remark, when it flooded the ballroom, he says, "Freeze it," he said, "and we'll do the show on ice."
Yeah. Oh, it was great. Yeah, Bill. Yeah, it was quite an experience being on the Sea Princess, and as Pete said, he came over from the Arcadia when she came in, and then came onto the ship. And we were in the carousel bar, which was at the after end, which was like the nighttime bar for evening times, obviously. But it was a pool bar in the during the day as well, wouldn't it, Pete?
Yeah. When I was there, we called it the Magic Roundabout.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly,
I remember they fridges, and Australians are like for their cold beer. And these fridges, you couldn't get them below a temperature that you could make tea with. So every time we sent a can of beer out, it came back at us straight away. So we had to work a system where all the beers were put in the freezer rooms downstairs, and then when we ran out, we quickly got to one of the storekeepers to run us up a fresh supply. So the poor storekeeper was forever in the lift going up and down to the carousel bar. It was a terrible state of affairs. So many complaints. It was ridiculous.
It was. I did it. I mean, I enjoyed the experience on there, and doing a bit of the Aussie cruising was great. And as we all know, Australian cruising is quite a sociable occasion, you know, which was important for all of us at sea.
Exactly.
You know?
I know where you're going, Dave. I know where you're going.
The carousel. Do you remember? It had the wooden decking around the aft end section going out to the pool, and then the inboard section carpeted for the evening time or whatever. And we used to call the wooden decking was called the forecourt. And of course, it was where all these girls would be coming in for their drinks at the bar, and we classified it as the forecourt, and we'd all say, "I'm not even going to say it." No. But it was great. It was great. Good time. Yeah. So that's right.
All right, Dave.
And Phil, you were. I remember you being on the Sea Princess because we visited you down in Southampton when you were on board as bar manager. Yeah, that's right. So when would that have been, Phil? In the early 80s?
Oh God, yeah, very early 80s. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Ship.
I got a question for Phil and Derek. So when did they change the name from first barman to bar manager? When was that?
Probably very recently, because in fact it was originally, Phil confirmed, it was originally the saloon barman, wasn't it?
Well, first barman.
Well, saloon barman.
Yeah, the first barman, I think it was.
Saloon barman, yeah, that's right.
Saloon barman, yeah, saloon barman.
Then I think it was first barman, was it?
It got confused because the Orient Line and the P&O had different job titles, and they sort of mixed them up and sort of amalgamated them. So P&O called it a PRS, and a PRA, I beg your pardon, and the Orient Line, it was a PRS. And they standardised on PRS and things like that, so it was all a bit confusing.
Yeah, it's all a bit iffy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I met on the Orchids when I went there. I met the famous Mr. Dougie Williams.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Bless his soul. And we never spoke. We were doing a 6-week Tilbury Australian trip, Sydney and back. And we never spoke because he was Orient Line and a few other barmen, and of course I was P&O, and we hardly ever spoke. And when the time came, remember the old days where you had to go in front of the chief steward for the yes and no for the next trip. We wanted to,
tick on.
I went up there and I said, no, I'm not coming back. So he said, why? Because I'm not wanted on this ship because I'm P&O. Of course, that got back down to Dougie Williams in the main bar, didn't it? And my God, there was all hell to that. And he called me down there that evening, and I went down to see him. And 5 yeyears later, after becoming the best buddies with him, I had to leave the ship because they were breaking it up. It's amazing. He said, "Don't you ever mention that you're not wanted on this ship."
Yeah.
He said, "We all love you," and all the rest of it. So,
Can I butt in there? I did the Orchids and the Onset, and then I went out, as you remember, with you to the PP and the Sun, and then they had a policy at the time that you didn't do more than 3 years. Is that right, Derek?
Okay.
After 3 years, they moved you.
I don't think there was a ruling like that. No.
Right. Well, I was under the impression that they didn't want you to stay more than 3 years, so I went off and did a relieving stint for about 12 months, whereas I did, well, literally relieving. I did 6 weeks here, 4 weeks there, 5 weeks somewhere else. And the first time I went on Canberra, I was made very unwelcome because I'd come from the West Coast, and it was a similar sort of thing with the P&O and Orient. If you'd been to the West Coast, you were persona non grata when you went back to the old fleet, because you were all fly-by-nighters, as it was put to me once.
That was still happening in the 80s when I went to the Canberra, and I think 5 of the staff got off because they weren't going to sail through with anybody from the West Coast. That was just the bakery stuff.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what they said. They weren't going to start with that so-and-so.
I was on for an operation. So to get me back in sync, to get back onto the PP, they put me on the camera as a relief. John Murray was the bar manager. Yeah, and so I go on the ship and go and meet him in the main bar. He says, "Hey," he says, "You're from the West Coast, yeah?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Hey, you're in the crew bar. I don't want to see anything again."
Yeah,
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that'll do me. That was the last time I saw you, Pete. 1985. And I got off the ship on the Friday, went to London on the Friday, stayed Friday night, and I went to the cup final at Wembley on the Saturday. Manchester United Everton. Just let you know that.
Gizzy, you remember when we went on the PP? Yes. PP Aussie cruising, and we were in the Oriana in Sydney, and they wouldn't allow.
I vaguely remember that. Weren't we at Piermont?
We were at Piermont, and
that's right. And they were at Circular King.
They wouldn't allow the P&O crew to come from the Oriana to visit the Pacific because we had it so good on there compared to what they had it.
Yes, I vaguely remember that. Yes, yeah, we were at Piermont, weren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
Piermont.
I got to be interviewed by Hotel Services, Morris Onslow and Co. To make sure that they were sort of extrovert and smiley to be behind a bar in Princess. And so they picked them out to see. Anyway, do you remember Peter Motion? Yeah. He used to come along and say, "I don't want this on the Princess ships. He's not smiling enough." So, of course, okay, I have to move the bucket to Canberra the Oriana. Then he'd go on Canberra the Oriana on business and say, "Well, this guy's there, he doesn't smile." I said, "Peter, for God's sake, I put him up the Princess ships because he didn't smile. I can't fire the bloke for not smiling. Where's he going to go?"
I always remember one particular time, because I joined the Pacific in Newport News, Virginia. I don't know if you remember, Phil. A flight was delayed and we got to New York, it had already sailed, so we flew down to Newport News, Virginia, didn't we? And I joined up about 3 weeks in dry dock. Chris Sample was the first one, was the chief officer.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like in dry dock, you're always looking for people. And he used to get so pissed off, and I can remember one day he'd come over on the tannoy and it was, "Mr. Monument, please telephone the bridge. Peter Motion, please telephone the bridge." I think it was just constant for him. You know, there's so many dry dock problems.
Yeah.
I hear Peter Motion's got Parkinson's disease. He's not
I heard that. Yeah.
Was he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember he came out to the Sun one turn and we hadn't seen anybody from the office for a long time. I don't know if anybody will remember that. John Young was the captain. And the captain, he wanted to bring him down to the mess room. Last week I was chairman of the social club at that time. Would I organise it and get everybody in the mess room, because Peter Motion wanted to have a word with everybody. So anyway, I do all this and captain brings him down. So I've got on the microphone and it came out differently to what I intended it to. I said, "We have Peter Motion here, or Mr. Motion rather, from London office." I said, "I know we don't see people from London very often and we sometimes think that we're forgotten about." And when he went on the microphone, he said, "Obviously I'm not running the ships very well." John Young was standing beside me. He said, "Well said, John."
Yeah, John Young.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know the nickname that John Young gave to Peter Motion? He called him Snap Ass. Did you know that?
Was that?
Yeah, which Peter Motion didn't know. He called him Snap Ass. That was And Mike Tatchen was the one that we used to use it behind his back. Anyway, you're probably aware that I got involved in organising this reunion in Southampton. And there was one occasion where we were having speeches, whatever, at the end, and I think it was Captain Philip Jackson got up and made a reference in his speech to Snap Ass. Everybody knew they were talking about Peter Motion, but he didn't know he was talking about him. And then 4 years ago, Nell and I got a flat in Portugal, and he was staying there, and we went to see him and his wife, and they gave us a very nice lunch. And at the end, I thought, well, he doesn't know this. He's been left in the company for 15 years. I said, did you know what nickname you were known by? He said, no. And I told him that he was known as Snap-Ass. Well, his wife nearly roared with laughter and nearly fell off the settee. And he'd never known all that. And I told him that he'd been known as Snap-Ass.
Another question, Derek, another question for you. Being in the office, did you still manage to go out to see all the ships at some stage?
Yeah, I was quite lucky. I used to spend about 6 weeks a year visiting ships, which was really just right because I didn't want to be away all the time. I always felt sorry for the technical guys who spend their lives living on ships in dry dock, which, you know, they'll be away for 100 days a year or something. So, yeah, I used to get away and visit all of them for 2 or 3 days. They'd mounted up. The longest trip I did was about 3 weeks on one occasion, I think, when I was away from home visiting ships. But, yeah, so I did. Because I always loved travel, and so I was lucky after I left the sea. I got back to see most of the places I'd been to. I think the only place I've never been back to was Honolulu, because it was sort of between the two in terms of travelling, you know.
Yeah.
Dave, question. I've just got a message on my screen from Martin Gray. So he'd like to come in, but he's not been contacted.
Yeah, I know. If someone could.
You mentioned earlier on about bellboys.
Yeah. He has been contacted, Jim. Can you send him a message back and tell him to go into his messenger and just click the green camera?
Yeah.
Join conversation. He has been asked.
I'll see if I can get hold of him.
Yeah.
He's been invited, yeah.
To us. Things did get back to us, and I was always amazed how quickly the Kelly Wireless worked, you know.
Yeah.
Can we change the subject?
I mean, there'd be a guy go sick or something.
Yes. Yeah.
The guy would go sick.
There was lots of
I'm getting another beer.
And that was a great answer, Derek. And Derek, as in Scotty, that was your last question of the evening.
And my last answer.
Exactly. There you are.
Derek Warmington, please, sir. Did you used to live in South London?
Yeah, I lived in Croydon.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, actually, strangely,
I
There's
think
Martin just come in, Dave. Hello.
Yeah.
I can remember
Martin Gray just come in.
Yeah.
on East Croydon Station one day.
But me, yeah. I commuted from there for years. In fact, it's rather strange. I did 7 years at sea, 17 years in London, and 17 years in Southampton. Very odd.
I do remember talking to you on East Croydon Station one day.
Crikey, I wish I could say I could remember the occasion I can't.
No.
Yeah.
One day.
Dave, Martin Gray's just come in.
Yeah.
Hiya.
Hello, Martin. Yeah, so Derek Wilmington, one of the earliest employees we've got on the bar, on the crew bar, along with Phil, you know, obviously. But one of the latest additions to the P&O or Princess was Martin Gray, who's just joined now. He was a bellboy. He still looks like a flipping bellboy now, annoyingly, but that's another story. Yeah, what year was it, Martin? When did you come out? Was it 80?
Yeah, 1980, 81.
81.
Yeah.
Oh, new boy.
Yeah.
You rephrase that about coming in.
Yeah.
You're on the wrong side, mate. You're on the wrong side.
I knew I was going to say that. I've wanted to change around the strip quite a lot, yeah, but no, I never come out.
Can I ask you all a question? Did you all leave when you got the brown envelope in 1985?
86.
86, 85, 86? Is that when you all left?
I did, yes. I was on the Sea Princess at the time.
Yeah.
And, I finished in Malta when it went into Malta, we transferred from CP to Victoria. I spent 10 days there, actually, before coming home. Enjoyed it.
You just come at the right time for myself. I got married in the February, flew out to Sydney to join the PP, and then that was my last trip. I finished then. That was sent home with the brown envelope.
Yeah.
I never forget the date. It was November the 5th,
Yeah, I finished
that I got back to UK.
I asked because I was involved in doing all that. That's why, you know. There we are. You know, I thought you all must have been. Yeah.
Derek, I left in 81.
Sorry,
I think it was 81 because we got married in the 82.
Yeah.
But my envelope was beige.
No, it was
Pink, David.
the brown envelope.
And I bet I'm the only person here. I'm the only person who's got 2 retirement letters from Mr. Warmington. 'Cause I retired twice. Yeah, I retired twice. Yeah.
After tonight, Colonel, you'll be getting a third one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did 25 years in total.
Yeah.
I did 25 years in total.
Another question: all you guys worked in the bars. No one else, like BRs or anybody like that, wanted to join you? We lost touch with them all.
There's a couple of us with BRs early on
Yeah.
in the 70s. Was that Jim? 72, 73?
I was a bedroom steward very briefly on the Orkneys, and
Aronsay.
then I went topside when Orkneys was scrapped, and then I went to Aronsay, and I remained in bars ever since.
Yeah.
What's the name of the convener of the IP who was a bedroom steward? Who lived in California. What was his name? Irishman. I've gone out of my head now. Yeah. He used to come along to the pay talks in a blue striped suit and a waistcoat and a gold chain. You had to be reminded of this guy clean loos for a living. It was really quite strange.
The one on the PP, he was from Southampton. He was. I'm sure his name was Peter or something.
Yeah.
Never trust a Peter. Oh, apart from Pete Stevens and Peter Pratt and all the other Peters we know.
Yeah.
You know, and just to answer Derek's question, we do have Mark Proctor, who is an engineer who comes in the crew bar, and of course we did have Jerry Dyer, God bless him, who passed away.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's not just the bartenders in the crew bar.
Mike Gold.
And obviously we got John Herbert.
Mike Gold. Yeah.
Chris Chapman.
Chris Chapman.
Yeah, Chris Chapman. Yeah.
What did Chris Chapman do?
Not a lot. And of course there was Kit, who was from the shops, wasn't there?
Dave, what's the story about you clearing up after Chris Chapman when he was doing his Fiddler on the Roof thing? Did you go behind him with a broom or something in the International Lounge?
I think the story is when Oscar's sung Mammy, or to when Martha did a number, or to when Chris Chapman did a number. I think we ended up sweeping the dance floor to nearly every show.
The cleanest dance floor in the fleet, mate.
A quick one on a dance floor. When I worked on the Pride of Bilbao, we used to. It was a brass dance floor, flipping nightmare, and you used to have to buff it with a machine every night and all this lot. Well, I sailed over with Pat, my wife, and Liz, our daughter. We did a 3-day mini cruise down to Spain about, which Phil did with Grebo, Vince Grebo, years later. Anyway, the Steiner girls used to do on the first morning at sea a demonstration to promote business for the hair and for the body basher, for the masseuse. So anyway, they had this masseuse table on the dance floor, with a hole in it, so you could put your face down into the hole. And I end up being a passenger on this trip over, helping them by being the model to lie on this bed and be massaged, and then hopefully they'll gain business down in the salon. Well, the girl that was doing the massage was doing a really good job. And I had my face down in the hole in this bed, and of course the dance floor was like a flipping mirror. Well, honestly, this vision, it went all the way to Memphis. Flipping heck. Well, of course, you're lying on your stomach, you're seeing a view like that, and all of a sudden she says, right, you've got to get up off the daybed. Well, bloody hell, I'm trying to gather anything to protect my modesty, Can you edit that, Colonel? Can you edit that one out, please?
Yes. Dave.
You didn't normally used to hide it, Mr. Inch.
Dave, just to let Dave Inch, just to let you know, Pete Jarvis passed away.
I saw the message. Yeah, this is a brilliant captain.
Yes,
with
this is the captain on the ferries, everybody.
And on the ferries, fantastic. I don't know if he did do P&O.
2 days ago.
I got an advice from Captain Betchley about him, because I don't know whether you know, but I put out emails to all my P&O contacts when people die. I put an obituary together, and he's sending me some details. I didn't know this Captain Jarvis, but I'm waiting for details. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was like a JY of the ferries, wasn't he, Colin?
Yes, he was indeed. Yeah.
He was such a lovely man, you know.
Yeah.
Also, great man management, you know. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
very sad. Very sad.
And anyway, do you mind if I go home early tonight?
Oh, hey,
I've got an appointment.
Oh, good. Well done.
I hope it's for your vaccination, Jim.
Yes.
That's next Friday, Steve. I got my letter yesterday. So I'm going to Derby on Friday.
I'll have mine tomorrow.
I had mine yesterday.
Progress is happening. And I'm going to say good night to you all.
Okay, Gizzy.
Good morning to you, John.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you, Mr. Warmington.
Oh, gosh.
Dave, and all the lads that I can't see on the screen. And I'll talk to you next week, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, mate.
Just before I go, Steve, just before I go, did you a favour yesterday?
We didn't do yourself a favour today.
Well, the ball's in your court, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, mate.
Okay, Gizzy.
Dave, I do feel sorry for you.
All right.
Take care. Good night, all, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, Gizzy.
Later, man.
Bye now.
Yeah.
Are you all familiar with this website called Pando Isenko with all sorts of P&O history in it?
No.
It's compiled by an ex-first officer called Phil Messenger, and it's been running about 3 or 4 years. So he's actually using the title pandoisenco.co.uk. Literally, pandoisenco.co.uk. It's a huge website full of pictures of ships, history of the company, everything. It's really worth a look.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give that a go.
You know about that one?
No. Derek, sorry, I have got pen and paper. I know you said whatever. What was it? It was Pando.
PANDO, all one long string, .co.uk. So it reads as PNOSNco.co.uk.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So you Google that, it'll bring it up. It's a huge website. And he's got a guest thing in there. Ex-passengers saying, I was a 3-year-old and I travelled on the Himalaya to Australia in 1953. All this sort of stuff. It's amazing.
Well.
In fact, when I was working on the Hebridean Princess up in Scotland, which I did for the last 15 years before retiring, one of the guests I was sat at the table having dinner with, he said, oh yeah, I used to sail with P&O and Princess Cruises years ago. And he actually did, and Pete Stevens and I both sailed with him, because what he did was he did the last Arcadia run and then came back on the Sea Princess. And of course we didn't know him from then, because it was the ship and everything else. But he said that he was there. He sailed with us. So I had actually sailed with one of these guests from in that era, probably about 5-6 years ago, on the Hebridean Princess.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah. You were there for
guys, can I interrupt?
Or the Oriana?
Guys, I'm sorry, I've got to go. I've got a meal on the table, so I've got to go and I'll bail out. Anyway, nice. I'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye. Nice to see you, Derek.
Yeah. See you.
Everybody. We all want to give you a round of applause.
Okay, cheers. Well, next week I'm very happy if you've got room.
Oh yeah, we will.
Yeah, okay. See you then. All the best.
Okay, Derek. See ya.
Derek,
Bye.
another famous person you had dealings with was I don't believe it.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah,
Yes.
what's his name? Yes. Yeah, Wilson.
What's his name?
Wilson, yeah.
Richard
Yeah.
Wilson.
Richard
Was
Wilson.
it 1 foot in the grave? Was that it?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Did
No, that was-
you put it on YouTube or something, or I saw it there or whatever?
yeah.
Put it on YouTube?
It was on. It was on like more. We got on the telly, but it was on More 4. You know.
Oh right, okay, yeah, okay.
And
Yeah.
he was doing a tour around Scotland because he's from Scotland. He's from Gourock. That's where he was
Oh,
born.
he's from one of the islands, is he? I didn't know.
No, on the mainland, near Greenock. But he was very
right.
familiar with all the islands and everything. And he just
Okay.
came on to he did a trip across. He went on a train journey across Scotland and a whatever, and then he did the cruise on the ship. And it was just on there that he then wanted to, give a bit of an experience to being up in Scotland. And it was good.
It was very funny the listening to him talking to you, and then saying yes, you'd get up in the middle of the night to tend to his every need.
Yes.
Most of us would have said, go and get photographed.
he wanted to try and put anybody under pressure, and he said, but if I had a dodgy window I couldn't open in the middle of the night, I mean, who am I going to call? And I said, look, all you have to do is open the door. I'm sat here 24 hours a day, sir. You know.
Consumed on board each year. So, David,
That's correct. Yes.
you're the only one in the ship.
The only one at the moment. I do have a colleague. Exactly.
At your convenience, yes.
Oh, and the other one was, he said, what is your and what's the name of your oppo? What's your opposite?
Yeah, your
partner?
opposite
He said, what's his name? And I said, he is a she. And it was because she wasn't. It's a girl,
Yeah.
And it was just the way it came across. But anyway, it was a good time. Good time. Because we've all acted camp in our time, haven't we?
Not me, dear.
Or me.
Have we taken? Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good
Lou.
week.
Cheers.
Bye.
Lovely.
Cheers.
Bye for now.
Lovely. Now, boys, you don't know that we have again. We've got we are going to do an Ollie Pocket interview with Seamus this week. We're going to call in on Seamus this week, but we've also got an additional surprise that will be available on the YouTube for the crew bar of an Oscar spectacular, which will be another additional one, which we won't go into detail, but we all know that he used to like bike riding, and that's all we can give you for information at this moment in time.
Is that what they called it? Bike riding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Night rider.
So boys, Colonel Steve, are you happy to?
Yeah, we're ready. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
And obviously Martin, Derek, John, Pete, Colin, lovely having you all on this week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
But just before you go, Dave, just before we go, whose fault is it that we didn't get Taffy on today?
Oh,
Well,
shit.
he phoned in and said he wasn't
You,
available.
John, you never mentioned his name.
Okay.
Did Taffy call in?
No, I'm sure I saw it on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Out of interest, how many was on tonight?
It wasn't available.
It was
11.
11 or 12.
Yeah.
Hang on. 2, 4, 6, 8,
11.
10, 11. Yeah,
Yeah.
11.
Anyway, okay, we'll see you next week. It's all good.
See you next week. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Seamus.
Shame,
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the crew bar, Seamus. You know what it's all about.
Well, I didn't spend a lot of time there. I was very busy doing other things.
We know all about that, Seamus.
In his pocket.
No, he's talking about something else.
Thank you, John. On his pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah. How's the snow, John?
Yeah, we got lots of snow. Yeah, it's actually fun. It's actually funny because Seattle's like the UK and Ireland because we don't get a lot of snow, but when we do, it really does messes everybody up. You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Seamus,
yes,
you've obviously seen hopefully you've seen other episodes.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, look, what we love to do is on our welcome is just to ask. We know you've got a discharge book because you put your photo in to Colonel way back. But the question is, when was it you went to sea? Why was it you went to sea?
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, what ships and over what and how many years it was.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine up the road joined Cunard. I'd never been to the sea before or anything like that. And he came home a couple of times and he had been on Cunard line. So I left Ireland to get a job on the QE2, if you like it, or the Queen Mary, whatever it was, the Queen Mary.
Queen Mary.
So that was I left Ireland without even a passport. Anyway, he said, go to London. My uncle met me at the airport with a flask of tea and sandwiches and brought me back to his place in London. He lived underneath a nice spot in Regent's Park. His wife took care of offices. So I stayed there with him. I went down on a Monday to Simpson's in the Strand and told him that a friend of mine worked here and that he said it was the best place to get a job. And I had a job on Tuesday.
Wow.
At something like £6 a week, and I was a commie waiter. And there was lunch and dinner there, but no women was allowed at lunchtime in that restaurant in Simpson's. All men. So I was only there a week when my waiter died and I got his job. So I went from £6 to £9. I had no expenses, 10p in the tube from Regent's Park to London, and I had free accommodation. So this was 69. So I got a job next door with a building site when I was waiting for my papers to come through and my passport. So sometimes I'd get a taxi home. I say to the taxi man said, where are you going, Pat? And I said, 2 Park Square West. He'd look around, are you sure you have the right address? You know, because it was a posh address. Anyway, I joined up the London Prescott Street and I joined a whole line of people and the different ships, different windows, as you know. So there was a guy in front of me and he got on Shore Sava line and the Arcadia was next for me. So I got a job at the Arcadia, I think, January or February 1970, very early in 1970. So I did a couple of trips there, and on one of the trips, I must have signed the contract without really knowing. And I had this lovely man and his daughter on a trip, and of course I was looking after the daughter. I didn't know who he was from Adam. And as he was getting off, he says, thanks for everything, you've been really nice and everything. He says, you might need that sometime. And he handed me a letter. He pissed off. I opened the letter anyway, and it was a reference to whom it may concern. And he signed his name, Victor Matthews, Chairman of Cunard.
Whoa. Whoa.
I still have the letter.
Brilliant.
Anyway, of course I go to Cunard office, hand this in. Yeah, no problem. God, you've plenty of pull here. I said, that's fine. Next thing, 10 minutes later he comes back. Sorry, mate. Your contract with P&O, I can't employ you. You'll have to go back, break the contract, and then come back to me. So I never did. I did a couple of trips on the Arcadia, and then I joined the Canberra after that, after about a year and a half. And I was on the second trip to Alaska on the Arcadia. And Glacier Bay and the usual haunts and stuff like that. And there was a chef selling heavy duty, can't remember, big chef guy, he'd a bit on the side selling heavy shorts and stuff like that. So that was, then I was on the Canberra, then I was home on leave, and I got a letter saying, would I join the Spirit of London in Los Angeles? So I flew on its first trip out there. I joined it in Los Angeles. So that was that. And the rest is fucking history. I think there was a good few years, 6 or 7 years on it.
Yeah.
And I went on the PP then, or the island, I actually forget.
So Seamus, in hindsight, if you had gone with Cunard and you were very friendly with the chairman's daughter, you could have gone. Yes. The sky's the limit.
Oh, absolutely. She was mad about me as well, but he thought I was great. Well, here's an incident. I did a trip on the Spirit of London, and it was actually a trip on the Arcadia. And there's a guy, I'll never forget his name. I think he was a gigolo, but his name was Lawrence J. Ireland. Did you ever hear of him? Lawrence J. Ireland. I don't know what he was. He looked like a cruise director on the ship, but he actually was a passenger. But you know the way us Irish, when we're nice to people and everything, we go and we put our hand on somebody. Say, how's it going? And whatever. So I remember doing this. The captain was on my table while I was winging and blah, blah, blah. But he didn't like it anyway. So he brought me up and put me on a charge of social intercourse. Social intercourse. There was a great family at the table and I was tops with them. And what happened? You're not the best. Oh, I said, I'm sorry, there's a damper on my personality. I told him what happened. And he insisted that I be brought back up again to the captain's office in the presence of him and undo the charge of social intercourse. Right. So that was one of the other incidents. Then was there something else really? Oh yeah, I did a trip with Mrs. Lilly of Lilly Pharmaceutical. And it must have been 77 because I got married in 78. So we were on a trip, whatever, out towards, I think it was a world trip. Anyway, she was good to me and I was good to her and blah, blah, blah. I was in the bar inside the gangway immediately there on your left. I forget what bar it was. It was a long bar. Not a great bar to be in, not a lot of business in it as such. But I used to have to open a bottle of red label scotch for this billionaire. She'd hear the click.
Yeah.
And she'd have 2 drinks out of it. Now she says, that's yours. I'd have to have a new bottle every evening. So I got a grand tip when she was leaving, and she sent $500 to Nuala to help her out on her wedding. That was Mrs. Lilly of Lilly Pharmaceutical.
Wow. Brilliant.
The which we were sold behind the bar, presume.
Absolutely. So I met John Wayne on the Spirit, and I met Glenn Ford did a trip on the Spirit of London, and I there. And of course, as you know, John Wayne had the Flying Goose or Flying
Yes, he did. Yeah.
That converted destroyer.
It was a converted minesweeper, but that's okay.
Sorry, John?
It was a converted minesweeper, but that's okay.
A converted minesweeper. And the captain of that, the reason I got to know her was she worked in a bank in San Pedro, where a lot of us guys had a few bob. And she got us organised so we could get on that ship in Mazatlan. Yeah. So you all know the Hobby Nobby, and that girl is still alive in the Hobby Nobby.
Yeah.
The Wicks.
Yes. Taffy was in touch with her not long ago.
Correct.
Oscar, not Taffy. Was it Taffy or Oscar?
I think it was Taffy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was a lovely girl, but do you remember we were spending a lot of time in San Pedro then and tricking around and going up and down to San Diego anyway and into LA tricking around. But there was an ad at the time, must have been about 74, for Ford cars, but it was Wilmington Ford and some guy's name and Wilshire Boulevard. He was hot shit on every time you looked up there was an ad for this guy selling cars. I think John something or other, I forget his name, but anyway, I just remember that. So that's really all the things that happened. I left the sea then. I didn't get the few quid. You remember when everybody broke contract and P&O sort of got rid of you and rehired you? I had left. 82 was it?
86.
86. Yeah.
Was it 86? Yeah. Well, anyway, I didn't get that. A lot of the guys I knew got that. But P&O were good to me now. I have a pension from P&O, even though I was only 14 years at sea.
Yeah, yeah.
I have about 50 or 60 sterling a week. And the Queen gives me another, similar.
Yeah.
Which was good for her. Fair play to her. So I left the scene then, and I got married. I did another year, I think, after I got married. And then I got a job as a bar manager in a local hotel here, about 10 miles away. And I was bar manager there, but the hours were dreadful and horrid conditions and everything like that. And really, the restaurant was my forte. It's what I was really good at. So I became restaurant manager then, just in the same hotel. So I finished up in 99 there after 18 years or something. And I opened a little coffee shop in a mall in the middle of town. So I had a contract there for 10 years, and I was there 5 years. Good cash turnover, not a fortune, but it was good. Sort of 8:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon, 6 days a week. Sure, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
And the next thing, that was part of the credit union building. So I was only 5 years in there when they wanted to buy me out. So I got 5 years average income in advance.
Wow.
If I liked it. So I did. So since then, as you probably know, David, I just do bits of outdoor catering. I do small wedding functions, make a pot of curry, pot of stew, do a barbecue at a house, go to a house and cook a dinner, wash up, clean up, leave it as I got it. And but all these yummy mothers now, it's very easy to make a living doing that.
Sure.
But since the lockdown, that's all cut out now. Grannies and what do you call it? Kids' communions. That was a great go before the crash in 7 or 8. Yeah, that was good fun. It was great crack. Yeah. So I used to get Noel used to be my buddy then, and we do the bar. I'd get Noel on the payroll, and we do them together. Brilliant. So that's really up to now. I was 70 there in July, and I do the odd pot of stuff, bring it to a house and leave it there. Yeah. Get a tenner a head for just knocking at the door and say, there you are, I'll collect the pots tomorrow.
Wow.
So, it'd be it.
Very good.
So that's about up to date now.
I know you skipped through your life at sea, and obviously we appreciate you for doing that.
Yes.
The one question is, do you remember the time when we went to San Diego on a refit 3-day break, and when we returned to Vancouver, we weren't going to be allowed in because we didn't have the passport ID. We didn't have the paperwork to come back in.
Yes. I can't remember that. No.
I'll tell us the story, David.
Well, I'm
tell me the story.
San Diego to meet up with a friend of yours whose dad had a condominium down on the beach.
Yeah. Yes.
We missed the flight, the direct flight, so we had to hop, skip, and jump between Vancouver to LA to San Fran to LA to San Diego all day long. Took us all day.
That was Diane Duffy.
Pardon me?
Diane Duffy.
Yes. Yeah, I believe her dad was a dentist.
No, she was a dental hygienist. Her father was an airline pilot or so. I don't know, something like that. Yes, something like that, yeah.
And then on the return journey, we did manage to get a direct flight to Vancouver, but we were coming back in and we didn't have the what do they call it? You had to
sure pass.
The pass to get into another country. You had to a visa. We didn't have the visa to come back in. And we were stuck at the airport in Vancouver for a few hours while they rang the ship and got confirmation that we were who we were, and eventually they did let us come back in, which was quite fortunate. And I think it was a bit. That was the worst experience because I went with Steve to Kamloops, didn't I, Steve?
Yeah.
That was a lot better on another one because we didn't actually leave. We didn't leave the country, so we were all right. So,
The road. Yeah.
yeah. So Seamus, obviously before we go on this lovely little Ollie's Pocket special,
Lovely job.
Just to let you know, we do have a very short follow-on from you tomorrow. We've got the pleasure of Oscar giving a story on his bikes, which so tomorrow make sure you sit on a saddle and hold tight for what will be a rough road of a ride with Oscar.
Yeah.
You're giving it some time, Dave. You're hoping for the best, aren't you?
Okay. It's time to wrap it up, Dave.
We had some great times, hadn't we?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Many.
You know, many serious. They were great fun, and there was very little rows or anything like that. Nobody was, as in bad persons or anything like. Somebody might be tight or something like that, but there was no real bad person.
Exactly.
Not at all, because we wouldn't be doing this now if we hadn't had.
No, you wouldn't. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You wouldn't be doing this now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're doing it. You followed up that bit with Brendan and the trip maybe to take a boat up to Shannon or something. Well, did you see that thing? I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Or we could get two boats. But I think one big boat would be great crack because it'd be like being back at sea together. We'd all have our jobs, and I've done that trip a lot of times from Limerick up to Shannon, so we know all the little nooks and crannies and Johnny Hawk's bar and Colleen's pub in Shannon Bridge, and there's great watering holes along there.
Yeah, we'll when we're all up and running, we're going to have some really good gatherings anyway, and we want you to be a part of it, Seamus, for sure.
Please God. Yeah, and if you're anywhere around west where I live, I have a daughter with a 5-bedroom house, a son with a 4-bedroom house. I have a 4-bedroom house, and there's loads of accommodation here. We have great places to stay and stuff like that.
It floats back to you.